Ladies and gentlemen, from a galaxy far, far away, actually a county very nearby, Marin, George Lucas. Mr. Lucas, Mr. Williams, stay where you are. Please, sir, finish the script.
Yeah, it's getting to be what it is.
The whole
It's fun, though. It's
God.
I'm enjoying it. I get in there and I write, and I think of all the other things I want to do. So that's all basically what I do is I sit there and I come up with all these other ideas of things, not what I'm supposed to be working on.
Do you write those down?
I have a whole book full of notes. And
what were those like? Other ideas?
Yeah, other ideas. It ranges from the ridiculous to the sublime, and now that you're here, I can ask you because one of my brilliant ideas was to take Howard the Duck
and
redo Howard as a digital character.
Much better.
And then get a better voice.
Yeah.
Somebody such as yourself. And to have and do the same movie. Just do exactly the same movie. Just pull him out of the scenes.
And bring it back again?
No, and just pull him out and put this new character. I mean, put a digital version of him in there, and then have a new voice. A better voice, and have him have the voice sort of play off, and then bring it back. Howard the Duck Special Edition. You hated it before, you'll loathe it now.
Once again, Howard's back. Yeah. He's different. Make it more like this. How are you? Real New York Duck. What are you, crazy? What happened the first time? Who was the little guy in the suit? Shut up!
That's what happens when you sit in a room too long.
You could bring back, and I could do Popeye again. I swear this time
I can make it work.
Yes! And this time I can have both eyes open, like the manager who called and said, Rob, can't you open your other eye? No, Charlie, he's got one eye. You can do
Popeye, the digital. I can swear it'll work again.
God, I could go back. There's a couple I could do again.
That's sick. It's truly sick.
So you can go back and digitize it, and so you see all the digital possibilities of all the stuff you made in the last one. God, the complete characters,
Well, it's happened now, so it's like it's real now.
Very.
Yeah, you can do it. You can make really very realistic looking characters. We can do, you can do humans. It's just that nobody wants to bother. Because why? It's like...
Yeah. There still is, it costs so much to make, a human face. The angles and the skin textures and...
I know that Jar Jar Binks is probably the highest paid actor in Hollywood. And I would think he's probably very, very close to Stuart Little. I would say they're both over $20 million just for the character.
Serious? And no trailer.
And no trailer.
And no trainer.
No, but you have to have an actor, and then you have to have an animator, and you end up with 5 actors. That's why it costs so much.
Oh, you have to have
one actor doesn't get the $20 million. It goes to about 30 different actors.
Team Jar Jar.
But you still have to have an actor. You got 2 key people, the animator and the actor. And those 2 people really create the character.
Did the 2 guys work together a lot on Jar Jar?
They knew. Yeah, they would. What happens inevitably is the animator takes off from the actor. Because we'd photograph the actor, and then they would just, copy what the actor was doing.
Seriously? So he would make the movements, and he would do all that, and then the guy would build off of that?
Yeah.
Did he build the vocals? Did he build, once he saw the drawing or the mock-up of the character, he started building that voice?
The voice was actually written in the script.
Serious?
Yeah.
That kind of rhyming?
His name.
Yeah, it's sort of... It's turned out to be Jamaican, but it wasn't.
What's that?
It isn't Jamaican by a long shot, but if you're a Jamaican...
Jamaica!
Yeah,
I walking away now.
I just don't understand this Binks character. Everybody else I can understand, but...
Give me out to way some queer time.
Yeah, very strange voice.
Jar Jar working up the time the way queer friend Luke Skywalker. Jar Jar wheeling, I walking away. It was amazing to see the people's response to it. It's a totally created creature interrelating with humans.
Yeah.
Seamless.
It's funny. The fans hated it, but the fans hated Jar Jar before the movie even came out, before they even knew what he was.
Why did they hate him before?
They don't like comic sidekicks. They just can't take it. In the first film, nobody liked 3PO. They couldn't stand him. It was like the most repulsive character ever created on film. And then we went on to when we did the Empire. Nobody liked Yoda. You can't understand what he's saying. He talks backwards.
Syntax have none.
Yeah, it's like, it's terrible. And then in the third one, they hated the Ewoks. They just couldn't stand them. They were too cute, too fuzzy.
They wanted gremlins. They want nasty.
Well, they want something nasty and mean. And so it's sort of inevitable that the smallest, sort of goofiest character
gets despised.
Hated by, because they want to. A lot of the fans are sort of into Terminator 2, and it's like, how dare you make this into a children's film? I say, hey guys,
can't you have everybody look like Darth Maul?
Yeah, that's exactly what they want.
I want a Maori and a mime combined.
They want everybody to be mean.
They want to be mean. Welcome. R2-D2, can't he have a small razor? No. That was amazing because, it was like the classic Laurel and Hardy with R2 and CP3.
Yeah, no, they're
now you've done it.
You
what do you think we're going to do now?
Yeah.
You've gone too far.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, obviously we're trying to make it non-generic, and we're trying to make it so that it's
relatable.
Yeah, so that you can't say, well, this is this and this is that. It's just an accent. You got to have an accent because you can't have people coming from all over the parts of the galaxy and all speaking perfect English.
Good evening.
Yeah.
They're like the old war movies. My name is Heydrich. I'll be your general this evening. Damn, English have landed in Normandy.
Yeah, or the westerns. Yeah, well, I'm the chief of this tribe. And,
what the chief is trying to say, as your scout and dear companion, and the Emperor of Rome is always, I am Emperor of Rome, never, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm a Caesar. Hey, what do you make a salad? Come on! What are you doing? Get there! Hey, omnia. Yes, Gallia est divisas in tres partes. Great! Let's march. I'm going to cross the Rubicon when I'm there. All right, fine. Is the building that?
It is. It's a funny thing because right in the very beginning of the first movie, we decided to play with accents and try to mush, because I was dealing with English and American and everything. I wanted to sort of mush it into a lot of different kinds of accents since it was all over the galaxy and times, different kinds of dialects and different languages, and not do just everybody speaking, British.
Yeah, it seemed like all the villains basically on the Death Star was all, Sir, Mr. Lord Vader.
We kept the militaristic group a little bit more higher English than the.
Yeah, they were very much Lord Vader.
Yeah.
Very sorry, Lord. Not like English sergeants. Lord Vader, it's all been done, sir.
Yeah.
Planet's been destroyed, sir, as you wished. Or one Scottish stormtrooper. Can't go in there, sir. The doors haven't been blown off yet. Would be definitely a way to go. Lord Vader! What is he saying? Lord Vader to get free plane. What? They was blowing the wee bear. What? Blowing the wee kind of Vader for below. Time out the beaver. The brave hat Vader. Luke. What? Luke, do that with the farce. What? Use the farce, Luke. What? Use the farce. The farce? Farce! Work with me. Great Scottish Vaders. Lord McVader. Step up.
It's funny in doing that because it's like with Ewan, he is Scottish.
Oh, I know.
He has a very, very thick Scottish accent, and to get him to do to Alec Guinness, who's very, very English, and has a very, very English accent, it's very interesting because he actually pulls it off pretty well. Because his real accent is way different.
Oh, he's got that video.
He does. He sounds like Fat Bastard.
That would have been good. The other dark meat, Vader. That would have been great if Fat Bastard in the middle of that. Oh, here! Hand me that boy! Bring me that Anakin! What are you going to do with it? You know what I want. I farted in the suit! Fat bastard.
It's funny how people react to things like that. The reaction to that was probably stronger than anything else in the movie.
What?
With just accents.
Seriously? Because of people picking out, like,
they tried to sort of deal with, this is that and this is that, and it was the same thing with Watto, who was an Italian accent, and originally everybody thought it was Arabic. It was an Arab accent.
And then some people thought it was anti-Semitic.
Then they thought it was Jewish.
What are you doing? Get away from me! It's like the old guy in the magazine shop. Kids don't touch the magazines.
Accents don't make a stereotype. It's the stereotype has to do with certain characters, cliches really, that are created that certain people fall into, and then the whole group gets painted with the same brush as the few. Really how cliches and stereotypes work. I mean, that's part of the tools of a of a writer and of anybody. I mean, even a comedian.
Well, major tool.
Yeah, major tool. I mean, it's basically a lot of the comedy comes out of the fact that we see a stereotype or we see a cliche, and it's funny to watch it.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing with directors. And why do all directors have beards and wear Levi's and a baseball hat? I mean, it's like, what a
mandatory.
Cliche. It's a cliche.
What do you do?
Stereotype.
Do you have a beard and a baseball hat? No. I'm sorry, sir. Step away from the camera. Step away from the camera right now. You have to relax. Put on the beard, sir. Well, excuse me? I'm sorry, sir. When you can grow a beard, now you can step up to the camera. What are you saying? Francis, show him. Come on.
You know, many people would wish that Marlon had been the voice of, basically, you could have had him as Jar Jar, be it definite or Jack. I've always been waiting to see Jack in Star Wars. Use the Force, Luke. If not, flirt a little. Don't be afraid.
Who are your favorite science fiction writers that you grew up with?
Well, I like Asimov, and I like Bradbury and Heinlein, Clarke. The sort of the staple of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, me too.
I like the genre. I'm not a fanatic about it, actually. I'm sort of more of a fanatic about history than I am about science fiction. But I like science fiction because you can write parables. You can look at it in a very different way, and you can deal with it in a very different way, and it allows you to actually deal with the issues in a slightly less intense emotional context.
Do you think they'll ever make Asimov's I, Robot? I mean, there's been scripts for years, but because it spans so far, it's such a...
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's one of the... I'm a very strong believer that each art form is unique unto itself.
Right.
And that movies combine a lot of different art forms, but it is actually a unique art form unto itself. Mm-hmm. The moving image and storytelling through the moving image is very different than a novel psychologically, because a novel is using language and film is using images. Mm-hmm. So just psychologically, there's a very different thing going on. Plus, you're hearing sound, and music is purely sound, so that your brain is actually reacting to in different ways to those kinds of art forms, and I just believe that cinema is very unique unto itself, even though it uses bits and pieces from all these other art forms. But it's not a play.
Right.
It's not a book. It's not a record album. It's a very unique thing unto itself, and it operates very differently. And I think that there should be a recognition that there's some literary works that are just brilliant literary works and should stay brilliant literary works, and they don't need to be translated into another field. That there are things you can do with words that you can't do with images.
Yeah, like the imagination is so much stronger on that level.
Yeah, and it's very valid, and it's and that's why really great books don't make great movies.
No.
Mediocre books
can
make great movies, because sometimes they're written as movies more than they're written as books. Mm-hmm. They're not written in a literary sense; they're written in a cinematic sense, and those translate into great movies. But that's not, then the movie ends up better than the book. And it's like Star Wars, a lot of the authors have tried very hard to get the essence of the films into the books, but it's very hard because the films are written as films, and they'll never be as good in any other medium.
I remember seeing it in a theater in San Francisco, and the first time that ship came over, there was literally this, everyone was like, wow!
Yeah, well, it's obviously the first film has a different effect than all the other films, and now I'm just trying to complete the 6 and make it the 1, which is what it's supposed to be. It's a 6-part movie. It's a large 6-part movie. You get it on your.
So when you finish all 6, there'll be one showing.
Yeah, there'll be a DVD box set, of the 6 movies, and
sit down for the weekend,
and you'll be able to watch,
everything,
part 1 through 6, and. While, obviously each one has to work individually, otherwise I can't go on and make the next one, but ultimately I'm thinking about it as a whole thing, not as a bunch of parts. I'm really making it for the 10-year-old or the 12-year-old who isn't born yet.
So when do you think by that, how long will it take till you have 3 more to go? So
2 more to go.
2 more to go.
I start the next one in June, and then I've got, I'll be done in 2005. So I got 5 more years to do this.
Wow.
And that's racing like
That's
hell bent.
rolling.
That's a little like now working, from 9 in the morning until about 10 at night. And obviously when I start shooting, that goes from to like 6 in the morning until 10 at night. And
then you're on your 18-hour days.
Yeah, and so it's like, it's you have to go as fast as you possibly can to get these things done because there's just so much design work and they're so complicated, in terms of, especially the animation, and they're just very, very complicated movies to put together. That doesn't make them better. It just makes them a lot more work.
I mean, with the complete backgrounds, and you're doing everything now digitally.
Everything has to be created. I mean, all the sets are created that way. And a lot of the characters, and I'm trying to drift away. Last time was the first chance to use digital characters, and it was very exciting and fun, and I have a lot of them in the next film, but I'm trying to now back away from that a little bit and ease myself back into humans.
Welcome, Mr. Lucas.
Yeah, because obviously the last 3 are mostly humans. There's a lot of creatures too, but
but there was only like
they're rubber masks. There are people sitting there going wow 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 wow.
Yeah, that's a hard dialogue. What?
Yeah. But it's a very big thrill in getting those guys to act. Suddenly now they can actually perform and have performances which they couldn't do before.
Yeah, like you said, subtle animations have been created. I mean, complete character movement.
It's taken. We finally have gotten to a point where science fiction and fantasy, which really are primarily a literary genre, because it's an imagination rich storytelling device, which means you got to create things that just are not, that you only create in your imagination. You can never make them real or physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so science fiction movies have a very difficult time with that, because you do at some point or another for 5 or 10 minutes have to create that reality. Which is where obviously special effects come into those kinds of movies, and special effects, have been reasonably limited in what they've been able to do, especially with the sophistication of the audience. I mean, every year they get more and more literate in cinematic devices, and they expect more in terms of you can't deal with the crudeness that you could 50 years ago in your special effects and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, when you go back and look.
Yeah, you look at it, they're
what
great.
You tolerated was
great for what they were. I mean, amazing for what they were. But people don't expect jerky motions in animated characters anymore. They expect it to be smooth, and they expect facial expressions, and they expect it to be up to.
And subtleties. They're looking for all of that now. They want it to be, as like you said, cinematically real and subtle and complex as things that they've grown used to in movies.
Yeah.
In live action movies.
And it's really literally been in the last 5 years that's become a reality. And we're still we're still sort of sorting it out, but it's like 5 years ago you couldn't do it.
Where do you think it's going to go in terms of the technology? You said the last 5 years. In the next 5.
Well, I think digital technology is going to solidify and become. I mean, we're going to have digital films projected in theaters. We're going to shoot the films digitally, which the next Star Wars is being shot digitally. A lot of low-budget films.
So that allows immediate editing, you can...
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, when I got involved in sort of digital editing way back, 20 years ago, and tried to make it all happen, and we were the only ones that were doing it. The Editoroid was like the only, non-linear, digital-based system, because this was before really personal computers had come in or anything else, and it was done in order to be able to very quickly move large amounts of film around and keep track of them and put them together in ways that I was used to doing it as an editor. Once we got off the film thing of using editing machines and sprockets and everything, we could do things you couldn't even think about doing before.
Yeah, immediate mix of music.
Yeah, and then the next step really was in Phantom Menace. The whole film was really put into a computer.
On an Avid.
I mean, we put it onto the Avid, but we actually the real film itself was put into a SGI, very high powered machine, and some of it we shot on film, some of it we shot digitally. Put it all in there, and when it came out, in 4 theaters we showed it digitally, and in the rest of the world we showed it back on film. But now so we had it edited on a digital machine. Then on Phantom Menace, we actually did all our special effects and everything on a digital machine. And then now we're going to shoot it on a digital system. And so the only part that's left really is the theater. So then
the last step is a live feed, digital feed.
Or putting it on a disc, or you can get it there any way you want. But it's not going into the chemical process, the sort of celluloid chemical running things through a sprocket system.
So the chances of damage or anything?
Damage, and the quality is better, and it's also, it's converting it back and forth. It costs all the money and takes all the time.
If you stay in digital to film.
Because what you do is you convert film to digital to film, and just going back and forth. It's cumbersome and very expensive.
And the chances of losing 12 reels like the first when the guy was born, I got a truck with Phantom Menace in the back. I swear it's in the back of the truck.
Yeah, well, that's, everybody was saying, wow, we can't go digitally because there's no security and there's good copy and what are these cans of film? I mean,
it's like the one that was missing for like.
Yeah, all they have to do is be missing for about 2 or 3 hours from 12 o'clock, the last showing, to like 4 in the morning, and they are. There's too much money involved. It's, most in New York there was the FBI has a very small unit trying to deal with these sort of things. They caught this one guy. He was a big pirate, and he said, I used to be a drug dealer, but I discovered I could make a hell of a lot more money pirating movies than I could selling drugs. And it's a lot easier, and the dangers are a lot less.
I'll tell you this, man. When you're dealing with I got 12 cans of film. It's so much easier.
Yeah, you just have to get a hold of the film for a few hours, and then buy a lot of equipment.
And you don't have to put things up your ass like you did. People, what do you put 12 cans of films up your ass? I can't smuggle that, man. That's painful. I ain't going to be a mule for 12 cans of film up my booty. Put it away. What are you doing? I swear, ow! What are you doing? One more can to go. Shut up! Digitally, one disc. Okay, I'll do that. So the direct link will be just the digital, and then you can encrypt it any way you want.
Yeah, the issue is encryption, but that's the issue with everything. Let's face it. I mean, the future is based on encryption, and how do we deal with it? And because you can't have commerce. You can't have large sums of money.
For those playing at home right now, the next part of the interview,
it's encrypted.
Enigma.
But a lot of the growth is dependent on being able to secure transactions, which includes copyrighted material and everything else.
Back and forth, yeah, because then that's like you said, the transfer process can be safe.
Right, and there's a lot of issues in copyright that are going to come up. But they're already coming up. Half the world doesn't believe in copyright, and the other half does. Yeah, and
you get to Southeast Asia, it's like, isn't this? Yes.
Well, it's China. As far as China is concerned, all art and all copyrighted material belong to the people.
At all times.
At all times, and the artists are paid by the state.
You built Disneyland. No, it's not a Disneyland.
Yeah, it belongs to the people.
Belong to the people, as you notice. It's a third world after all. It's different than small world. This is all better, and we have Mickey Mouse, but that's Mickey Mouse. Different character. And you go, instead of Country Bear Jamboree, it's Yankee Bear Jamboree. It's different.
Well, that's one of the bigger issues, I think, because it really is going to determine in a great way the direction that the arts go. And how that works out. I mean, it's especially true in the area that I'm in, which is film, where you have films that are very, very inexpensive. And they can survive in that environment, but any films that are big, Blair Witch can work that way.
Because
Star Wars can't.
Because it was marketed even towards where the hits from the website were.
But if you make a film for $50,000, if you sell it for 10 cents a shot, or do a couple of ad campaigns or something, you can probably pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're making a movie for $100 million, there's no way you're going to make your money back.
Stakes are a little higher.
Yeah, but if you want to see movies that cost $100 million to make, there has to be a methodology for getting the money back. It's it's funny. The press comes, they look at the success of Star Wars and they go, "Oh, this is very successful," and gosh, he makes hundreds of millions of dollars. They forget that, I could take that money now and spend it on the next one, which is going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars. It doesn't just sort of go into somebody's pocket. It actually goes into the next movie.
Coming back.
Yeah, it's like, it does. You have to come up with the money to make the next one.
This is seed money.
Yeah, you got to keep.
You're turning it around.
Turning it around and keeping going. Otherwise,
replanting.
You run out of money.
Yeah, because of this, things take so much. And
Yeah.
it's that weird thing, like you said, in between now is that whole, what used to be the whole marketing system and like what will happen to studios and all of that. That's what's kind of interesting to see if that will change, if that's, they're trying to, it's like a huge animal trying to move like a dinosaur, figuring out what do we do next,
Well, if some kind of business model comes out of all this, because right now everything's up in the air. I don't think anybody's got a notion of what's going to happen. But if a business model does work itself out of this, I'm very, very confident that it's going to be accessible to everybody. And that is the biggest thing that could happen, which is instead of having, half a dozen studios and half a dozen television cable networks determining who gets on the net, and having to spend, $20-30 million on marketing and that kind of thing, if you can, deliver it over the internet, it's going to be available to everybody. And as I say, you can make little tiny, inexpensive movies or entertainments, and you don't need you can work in a very, very small niche market and still make your money back and stay alive.
So now we have a day off. It's our time to go. Well, you have to go back and write. You have to.
I'm not going to write today.
No, it's
today is Sunday.
Today is Sunday.
I'd normally be writing, but you have relieved me of that.
Now we can go enjoy the day.
Yeah, and since you've taken the heart out of my day, I've decided, I really can't go and write now.
No guilt now. You've taken my Sunday, Robin.
No, I've taken some of your Sundays.
Yes.
We trade Sundays.
We trade off of
it's for good cause.
We trade benefits. Thanks, George. It was a good day, boss.
Yeah, well, it was fun. We sort of eased into that without realizing we were doing it.
That's how we always do it, sir. It was like...
That was fun.
Oh, thanks, boss. Very good day. Now we can go enjoy Sunday. There's people here waiting for you.
Oh, yeah?
Marie?
Monk.
Thanks.
Well, my pleasure.
Wonderful.
I'll call on you to redo Howard the Duck now.
Okay. I gotta come do that. I remember you had the first meeting. I went, I don't know, the duck scares me. We're looking around at the duck.
We're going to get this right. If it takes the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I will not let go.
Howard the Duck. The one project. It was like the Spruce Goose for Hughes. George would not let Howard go.
It'll be Howard the Duck back again, and then after that, the next one will be Howard the Duck, he won't give up. And the next one is, I think I've got it right this time. Please look at it.
Please, don't be afraid to look at him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Part 2. The Phantom Menace returns. This time Marlon Brando is Jabba the Hutt.
I don't think you understand that this is all about a business arrangement we had, and you never discuss the Hutt.
George Lucas returns.
Oh, someone's hacked into the interview now.
Whack this thing a lot. I'm sure you guys really love that version.
What is this? Is that bothering you?
I keep talking. There's got to be some Italian in here. I have too many Italian friends. Let's put it that way.
What are you doing? Hey,
I don't know how to talk
what is
without
that
my hands.
Why do you like The Sopranos? That's a great fucking show. What are you doing? Hey, what is this for? Hey, for people listening at home. Hey. What is that? Step into the black car, Mr. Lucas.
No, don't be afraid, George. We've got to start shooting. We've got everybody here. We're waiting.
It's getting to be what it is.
Well, the whole
It's fun, though. I'm enjoying it. I'm just getting old. You know what that's like?
I do, actually. What's your name?
Yeah.
Mr. Fracas? No, it's like now when you get to the point you're going, like you said, you want to get all this done before you're 60. So you see all the digital possibilities of all the stuff you made in the last one. God, the complete characters.
Well, it's happened now. I mean, we've been, working on this for years and years, and we got it. And then, now Sony with Stuart Little, I mean, they pulled it off too. So it's like it's real now.
Very.
Yeah, you can do it. And it sort of got exaggerated, the Phantom, because the audience grew up. And so what they loved when they were 10 years old, they definitely didn't like when they were like 30. They said they expected it sort of, to have that same reaction, and they couldn't. It's still for 10-year-olds. So it's like, the 10-year-olds love Jar Jar Binks.
Huge.
It's just a huge character. And, the only people that really don't like it are some of the hardcore fans and the media. The media hates it.
Yeah, I didn't see a response like that in a long time. It was like...
obviously we're trying to make it non-generic. We're trying to make it so that it's
relatable.
It has nothing to do with ethnicity. It has to do with, really characters, cliches, really, that are created that certain people fall into, and then the whole group gets painted with the same brush as the few, who are the classics. And in Phantom Menace, it works that way because the truth of it is that the Gungans are a race of people who have low self-esteem in relationship to those who live above the ground. And the whole story is about these two groups coming together because the group that lives above the ground, bows down and begs for help from this other group, which gives them the self-esteem and the recognition they need to feel equal.
By the end, when they're together.
Yeah, when they're in and they help win the thing, and that's the whole movie. That's what it's about.
Right.
It's about two different races coming together, we never really talk about if there was any actually logical reason why they felt inferior. We try to make it look like there really wasn't any, other than
the fact that they live underwater.
One lived up and one lived down. Yeah. The technologies were very different.
One's an amphibian and the other's.
Yeah, and they have very different technology. One can sort of go into space, the other can't, but that doesn't make one better than the other. One can sort of go through the underground world, very sufficiently, and they can use sort of plasma energy and all kinds of things that the other advanced society can't use. So we're trying to make them equal but different.
Right.
And then that's the story, but then everybody sort of
picks up on
it and says, oh, well,
What you've made them.
Yeah.
We find a layer of ethnicity, which is not even a word. Ethnicity, which is a word. Yeah, I think it was like you said, that people looking to lock onto things immediately, right off the bat.
Well, they don't really look at the story or what things they're trying to...
Yeah, you can hook up and create anything now.
Yeah.
It's a world. I mean, it's that thing, the vision that, you start off with so long ago, and then now
it's taken... we've finally gotten to a point where science fiction and fantasy, which really are primarily a literary genre, because it's an imagination rich storytelling device, which means you've got to create things that just are not, that you only create in your imagination. You can never make them real or physical. Mm-hmm. And so science fiction movies have a very difficult time with that. I like the genre. I'm not a fanatic about it, actually. I'm sort of more of a fanatic about history than I am about science fiction.
What did you see when you were in the basement? They said at Berkeley, they took you into the anthropology basement.
Oh, it was so much fun.
What was it like? What did you see?
Well, they got this huge basement down there with all of the stuff that they've collected over the years.
So it's basically like the warehouse in Indiana Jones. So it's like they have everything in the basement?
Yeah, it's all stored down there. I mean, they have a very little actual museum there. It's very small. But they have a lot of artifacts, and it's all down in the basement.
As in, what type of stuff?
Oh, it's everything. They have a lot of Pacific things, but they have, Greek and, all kinds of antiquities, Egypt, but a lot of California, a lot of Native American things, South American, I'd say a lot of stuff from the Pacific.
Samoa, Fiji.
Samoan, Fiji, all over Easter Island, all that sort of thing.
I want to see the outtakes from the Easter Island statue. Who are that? No, it's too small, squat. Give me longer faces.
But it was fun. It was we got to go into one. It's just all over the place. It really is like an amazing treasure hunt, because they have there's cabinets and things and everything. So we looked down and it sort of is like a maze. It goes all over the place.
That's amazing.
Say, oh, look over here! And we opened up this cabinet and pulled out some drawers, and there was this amazing South American. I can't even remember which country it was. I think it was Peruvian, but most amazing rings and jewelry. That were so modern. You said, wow, I mean, that could be like it was made yesterday, and here it is, 800 years old, and very sophisticated, very wonderful stuff. And you see, oh, well, look, it's like, and you go over somewhere else and you get to see woven baskets, or there are a lot of these little tiny miniature baskets.
Oh, the tiny, like...
Yeah, they have little feathers on them and things. They're just little and really tight weaves, and they're only about 2 inches high, and they're very, very intricate designs on them.
And these are just basically the stuff that they store. And
Yeah.
God, that's incredible to think that that's all sitting there.
And they have some, Eskimo art where there's all these little carvings, and they just make it miniature until they have these little teeny things you can barely hold in your hand. They're all carved. They're all very intricately carved.
A micro fetish.
It's amazing. Amazing. You just sort of look at that, and it was the mother, I think, of William Randolph Hearst that did the whole thing, and she was a very big archaeological and anthropological enthusiast. And so she sponsored a lot of expeditions and a lot of collections and things, and that's really where most of it has come from. And it was all done, around the turn of the century.
Oh man, that was
before the turn of the century. Yeah,
that's when that was
the century before, it's 19th century.
19th century, end of the 19th century.
Yeah.
The time
I forget we're now in the 21st century.
Yeah, the Archaeological Society was it was good to join a club like that. Welcome to the Egyptologists. So we found evidence here.
You have to be careful with talking about kids. I say, that was, that was last century. Yeah. That was, around the turn of the last century.
Look, there's me.
And they say, the end of the last century. You mean 1994 or 5?
Your mother and I were online. What do you mean? We used to stand in line for films. It's like, there's no websites when we were growing up. You little, come over here, you little mouse user. And you've also, with your education foundation, you've been finding, the use, first of all, was starting with hardware and computers, but also with the internet and software of all that for education and the connection.
Right. Yeah. Well, we started out, it's funny, because we started that foundation about 15 years ago, and talking about the internet and being able to pull information off the internet and things like that was just foreign to everybody, and people were just putting computers in school and using them as typewriters.
Yeah, and basic word processors.
Yeah, and it's to say that isn't what happens, and so we basically do a lot of research on how is the best way to use technology in school, and it has a lot of ramifications of changing the whole learning process that I think is very, very powerful, and it's the best hope for education that I've ever seen. And that's really why I got involved in it, because it really does say the system can change and it can work, and it does work, and it's really with the power of this technology to free up the teacher to work more closely with the kids.
Give them access to amazing, not just
incredible
information, but also access to the people who, with that entomologist, it was just basically, he was giving them, incredible, and also access to amazing instruments that they had, that electron microscope.
The thing of it is that since we brought that film out, 4 universities have started programs on the internet that any school can tap into.
Serious? That's wonderful.
That are just like that. So it's again, part of it is just getting the word out and getting people to understand what they want and how it works, and then people gather together and make it happen.
It's like getting people to swim. You have to say, don't be afraid. You have to we'll walk you into the water very slowly. Because I think for them, you're right, it seems like an ocean. They don't know.
Well, you stand there and you go, well, I don't know how this works. But if you show them, this is the way they're doing it here, this is the way they're doing it there, these are the things that actually seem to work, and you can show it to them, people really respond. Because I think one of the biggest issues in education is that people don't really know what they want. Mm-hmm. They don't know what it is that works. And it's important for the parents and the legislators and the teachers and everybody involved in education who care about it to know what works, and then they can sort of build their own version of that. But there's a lot of great things happening out there.
Well, just that interactive conferencing where they could have an actual and be talking one-on-one with somebody, so far away, but also talking one-on-one with a professor at a university who would have access to not only the information but extraordinary instruments, and answering their questions in real time, video conferencing, even though it may be streaming and slightly off, but you still get the information.
Right. Well, and we're pushing. It brings up things like taking the best professors, not only in colleges but in high schools, in a high school, the best biology teacher, and having him tape his lectures. And then having that be your homework, because
that'd be amazing.
Then you don't have to sit through it. And if you've got 3 biology professors, and one is much better at working with the kids, and one is much better, and one of them is very good at telling, explaining how things work, then you can see that on your own time, just like reading a book, and then the professor can actually sit down and try to work through what you don't understand about it. It's a very different way of, because
basically classroom, rote learning then it becomes participatory on an individual.
And which is one of the things about education is it has been in the past really taught in isolation. Students are isolated from each other. They're isolated from the teacher's isolated from the other teachers. The school is isolated from the community. And technology helps to break that all down so that everybody's working with each other. And it also breaks down the idea, brings up project learning and that sort of thing because of the fact that you can simulate things on a computer so that you're not working in the abstract. Mm-hmm. You're not doing math in the abstract or things. You actually have a project you're doing, and in the process of doing this project, you're learning these basic skills.
Yeah, that goes from information to knowledge then. And
it really works so much better. And you see the kids working with these new systems, and it's phenomenal. The enthusiasm and I know why I'm doing it. I know why I'm doing this. I know why I'm learning algebra now, because I need to do it in order to do this project I'm working on.
Yeah, I need a theoretical base.
Yeah. And that all works very, very well. And the idea of getting kids to work with each other is the thing you see in in that classroom that we had in one of the films, where the kids are catching bugs and trying to understand bugs, and the 2 or 3 kids are working together, and you really get a sense of how you learn to work with other people, which is ultimately the key to success in later life. It's not how intellectually intelligent you are, it's how emotionally intelligent you are. How well do you get along with other people? How well you get them to see your point of view, or to collaborate on a thing, and to build together. Yeah,
that one person will spark a stimulating thing, and then somebody will take that and build the next step. I saw that in that tape with them.
It's very contrary to a lot of the system, the way it works, which is individual excellence rather than team excellence and learning to work with other people, because individual excellence only works to a point in real life. And if you're and even if you're a basketball star, you got to work with a team. Anything is going to happen otherwise. So it's very rare that you get into an occupation where you're all by yourself. You're almost always dependent on a group of people to help you, or you're helping them, and that's the key to it. In the end, it's how well do you work with other people, and that needs to be taught in schools.
Do you think that the technology can be disseminated? I mean, like, to really get it out everywhere. I mean, as it becomes cheaper, like you see with all. That's the only problem I see sometimes is, like you see that, the upper end stuff is so expensive, but also just getting it out. And a lot of people now are donating, which is great, but to get it everywhere and accessible, combined with the education of using it, like you said, of.
Well, what I've focused on is finding out what works and then disseminating that information to as many people as possible. Because I figured if you know what you want, you will find a way to get it. But you really have to know what you're asking for. And what's going to inevitably happen, which does, is the richer schools get the stuff first and they start building it, but then we photograph that and send it to everybody. So then the poorer schools can say, well, I want to have one of those too. And then they know what to demand, and if they put enough political pressure and whatnot, and scream loud enough, they'll get it too. But if they don't know what they want, then they don't scream, and then they don't get anything.
Right. Do you think that there'll be it's coming from the other end too, getting a lot of the kind of high-end technology companies, like Apple did it, but also other companies donating the stuff that's either, not out of date, but, the older models that
it's part of it, there is a problem there, because giving the kids the stuff that's out of date is not helpful to them.
No, because they need upturn.
Because it was a great idea in the beginning.
But now when you get something that's out of date, it really doesn't work well, because everything else is so fast.
The kids are learning on something that is, back in the dark ages.
Yeah.
And that was like a year ago.
What do you mean it's a 56K modem?
I'm sorry.
Do we have a DSL?
I know, we're trying.
Well, it's one of those funny things, which is I got into this and started to get into a little bit of the political process because I was very concerned about universal service to schools. This was 10 years ago, before they did the Universal Telecommunications Bill. And so I spent my time traipsing around D.C. trying to convince everybody that it was very, very important. I mean, I was willing to go along with universal service, but I thought that it should be free. I said, this is a very valuable asset for schools, and they needed to have free
Internet
access
to everything.
And everybody's going, having a heart attack and saying you can't do that and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and the first thing I learned is the first thing you've got to do is convince them that education is important.
And that it actually works.
And I said, gosh, if I've got to start there, if I've got to convince these guys that education is...
You need light to see.
Yeah, it's very important to our society that people be educated, because...
What you mean.
Everything depends on it, in terms of the prosperity and in terms of peace, good life, everything depends on good education. And if you can't see that, then... we got a lot more problems than I think, so, I think corporations spend, huge amounts of money training people to read and write. And if they would just give the money and try to make the school systems work, then they wouldn't have to spend that money later.
Right.
And if they just see that they're...
it's an immediate thing, but
it's to everybody's interest to get a good educational system. And that the country gets and industry gets and all communities get the kind of an educated employee and citizen that they want and they need.
But like you said, it's a strange thing to have to argue that point.
Yeah.
People who are going, well, what do you mean? Well, what do I mean? It means energy, money. It means all these things that... You and I think we both grew up in the same educational system in California. It was like a public schools.
Yeah.
And in the Midwest, I remember too. I remember that I remember having excellent teachers. I remember that it was a supported system, that it wasn't an argument, that it was actually something that our parents believed was a right, along with, clean air and water. But now you have to pay for the water. We'll talk later. It's the idea that this is this is a given, and it seems to have been lost. And the fact that you are arguing that point, or we're arguing it on a daily basis with people, and yet people bitching about it, saying, "Oh, well, what happened?" I went, "What happened is you know."
Well, it's funny, when I grew up in California here, we had free education all the way through
university,
all the way through university to get your PhD.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the best thing to me, is that anybody, no matter who you were or what you were or where you came from, could get an education, and you could go all the way as far as you wanted to go, and it would cost a very, very little amount of money, and. And
it was supported by a system that said this is part, and it worked, because obviously it fed a lot of people into the system that really.
The California is the state school.
It was first and second in the nation for so long time, and it was
state colleges and the University of California.
Junior colleges were actually
junior colleges. I went to a junior college, and it was absolutely free.
Me too.
And it was I thought at the time, this is the greatest thing about America, is that you really can be anything you want to be. There really is nothing stopping you.
Yeah, and there were there were no areas that were underfinanced or stuff like arts, or but you had all of that in science and everything, and it seemed like anything was possible, like you said, and that for me was a great thing.
Then there was a period that in the sort of 70s there.
Yeah, it was
where we had a governor who decided that it would be better if everybody paid for it, and to hell with those who couldn't pay. So we'll give them student loans. So now people come out of colleges and they got $100,000 loan to pay off.
And then they wonder why people can't come back and pay, for they had years of like a student loan system that no one could pay back.
Yeah, and how can you get out of college
and immediately be in debt?
And immediately be in debt $100,000. I mean, you're never going to make it.
All of a sudden, you're like an indentured Irish. I've come to the country owing my life.
Yeah,
I owe my life to the California state system.
That's exactly what happens. It's just, it doesn't work.
I can't pay back my student loan, and they've possessed my car.
Well, they have to understand that the greater good is served by having an educated population, especially in a democracy. Because a democracy depends
on informed people.
Because it's the government by the people. And you don't want a government run by a bunch of idiots.
What do you mean?
I see dead people.
Look around. What are they doing? Come on now.
Now, obviously, there's a certain segment of the operation of a democracy that would like to have people not be very smart, because that's how they get elected.
Yeah,
and they can
don't
appeal
understand
to
the complete issue.
Yeah, they don't want people to understand the issues. They want them to react on sort of
gut level.
Yeah,
I like you.
Knee-jerk emotionalism to say, yeah, oh, okay, well, we'll vote for that guy. He's got an earring, and I like that.
That's good for me.
Yeah, that's good for me. Well,
the Pierced platform.
Yeah, what do we need? Let's live on very expensive commercials that are 1 minute long, and not on these long
debates
about issues.
Yeah, and that people have to go, I understand that.
Well, the people don't want that. The people don't want that. That's too... They don't have
WWF once again.
Yeah, they don't have the attention span for that sort of thing. Well, we better give them the attention span for that sort of thing, because that's what's going to make this country really prosper in the centuries to come.
Because it's very, very competitive.
Oh, yeah, and the rest of the world isn't sitting by.
No. If you look at Europe and you look at Asia, they're working like crazy to catch and
they're succeeding in a lot of cases. I mean, I live a lot of my life over in England, and when I moved over there, it was like, I don't know, 25 years ago. It was, still vaguely post-warish.
Mm-hmm.
The phone system was really funky.
And now
traffic, and just now they're way ahead of us.
Yeah, France, Germany. I mean, the digital systems.
The whole Europe is, and Japan, same thing.
Yeah, you'll see things, and all of a sudden you feel like Forrest Gump. Mama said.
Yeah.
Mama said a computer's like a box of chocolates. You got to open it up slowly.
Well, you go to Japan and you say, "Wow, look at that! Oh gosh, that could do that! Oh my God!" And it's all in your hand. My gosh, why don't we have these back in the United States? What's going on?
You are not available. You would not understand for many years.
Yeah, this is far advanced technology for many years.
You one day will be part when you have achieved a level of civilization.
Yeah.
Or as they asked Gandhi, "What do you think of Western civilization?" He said, "I think it would be a wonderful idea." When you achieve that level, call me. When do they start construction in the Presidio? I can't wait to see Ewoks wandering around the marina.
Yeah. Part of the reason I got involved, I didn't want to see developers go into that park.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it would make a great digital arts center. I mean, a park that's dedicated to digital arts, as the Lincoln Center is dedicated to the performing arts.
Right.
And since digital arts and digital technology was basically born here in San Francisco, the first movies from Pixar.
We have Al Gore online too, Al.
Yeah.
Did you invent the internet?
I tried in my own way to invent the internet.
But you get, with Pixar and ILM and the companies up here that have really progressed digital technology in the art field,
mm-hmm.
And Silicon Valley, which invented it in the first place. I mean, I think in the centuries to come, that could be an important focus point for the art form that uses, works in the digital medium. And that's what I've been trying to promote. And we've got the Film Center over there now. Hopefully Sundance Film Institute's coming in, and a bunch of other cinematic organizations, and hopefully it will become a little focus point for whether or not everybody gets in there. But it'll be just as Hollywood was the focus of the movie industry in the last century, and we can expand that into not only the cinematic arts, but into the still lives, and still digital art. It's not painting. It's not photography.
Photography.
It's
in between.
It's using the digital medium to create fine art,
mm-hmm.
And all the other things. Again, music and all kinds of things. It's a wonderful, wonderful new medium, and I think that San Francisco needs to be the focal point of that, because this is where we started it, and I think 50 years from now, that'll be an important park. It'll be an important park because of not only the Golden Gate Bridge, which you get a great view of the Golden Gate Bridge, not only because it was, the oldest military base in the United States, but because it's, where a lot of artists work and create wonderful things using this medium.
It'd be amazing to see in 50 years if we're still around.
I'm not sure I'll make it.
You and I.
Welcome to the 50th anniversary of
Well, they're saying now we can live to 120, so.
Yeah, I just want to know what will the quality of
Life be.
Yeah, if I'm like, if I sound like Stephen Hawking's outtakes. Is it not good to be here? Sounds always like a Pakistani cab driver. Is it not well that the universe is enveloped? As we approach the event horizon, we must now go out and enjoy the day in this San Francisco. Now, in this present time. Thanks, George. It was a good day, boss.
Yeah, well, it was fun. We sort of eased into that without realizing we were doing it.
That's how we always do it, sir. It was like,
shh. That was fun.
Oh, thanks, boss. Very good day. Now we can go enjoy Sunday. There's people here waiting for you.
Oh, yeah?
Marie? Wonderful.
I'll call on you to redo Howard the Duck now.
Okay. I gotta come.